Hello and welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to be going over some of the things you need to fix right now if you want to become financially literate and you want to start saving and preparing for your future. I'm only 23 and I'm not a financial advisor, but these are some of the things that have helped me within the last year, and it might be worth looking into for you. One of the number one things I think a lot of people have, especially in this day and age, is loads of subscriptions to loads of different types of services, to Amazon Prime, Netflix, Disney, Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Music, cloud storage, YouTube Premium. There's tons of different subscription services out there now, and a lot of them are just getting more and more expensive. So I think that's one of the first things you need to look at when you want to start saving money and you want to become more financially literate, is minimizing some of the expenses that you don't really need. A lot of people have like 5 or 6 different subscription services when they only use 1 or 2 of them. For me personally, I only have 3. The first one being Spotify, which I use quite frequently, almost daily, because of my commute. I do not drive, so I commute by transit, so it takes me about 45 minutes to get to work and another 45 minutes to get back from work, plus whatever time I spend at home listening to music, which is quite a lot too. I like Spotify. I like music. I like to listen to the music that I enjoy. It's one of the things I enjoy in life, so it is worth it for me. The other 2 subscriptions, I have Amazon Prime and iCloud storage. Amazon Prime is good for me because obvious reasons. I don't watch Prime Video, but I do use Prime shipping, and I order quite frequently from Amazon for my skincare products, my coffee, things like that, household things. A lot of the stuff you order on Amazon is actually sold by the manufacturer, so you can get a lot of stuff a few dollars cheaper than you can in stores because they're not hiked up. But those are things you have to look into yourself. But the iCloud storage, I really don't want to have this subscription at all, but even after minimizing all of my photos, videos, and dumbing down all my storage on my phone, because I've had an iPhone for well over a decade, I'm still over the iCloud limit, but I've gotten it down to the point where I'm only paying $1 a month for iCloud, so that's something that's kind of doable. It works for me. But subscriptions and this type of thing is super, super personal. This is personal finance. For me, Netflix, Disney Plus, they're not YouTube Premium. They're not needs. They make things a little bit easier sometimes, but I don't need them to get by day. There are other ways to watch the shows and movies I want to watch if I want to watch them. I'm not going to explain those ways here, but you can probably guess. But for a lot of people, having something like Netflix is needed to keep them mentally sound and to relieve a lot of their stressors for the day. For me, that is not the case, but for someone it might. So you really need to gauge personally into your life on what subscriptions are worth keeping. But if you're paying over $600 a year on subscriptions, you really need to rethink what you're putting your money into, because that money, it's like throwing it into the void, into a hole. It's just gone. And a lot of these services, again, most people don't use. They may use this service once a month. Like, how many people use Prime Video? Like, a lot of people barely use Amazon. They have an Amazon account, but they only order something on Amazon once a month. So they're paying $11 a month for for faster shipping, a day faster shipping on an item that they order once a month. It's not really worth it financially. The next thing, which is arguably the most important, is to set up an emergency fund. This should be the first thing you do before you start investing, before you start looking at building your portfolio. You need to set up an emergency fund first, because life has a way of throwing things at you that can cost you a lot of money. I'll give an example. About 3 weeks ago, my dryer broke, and it was like donezo. We tried replacing the bulb, blah, 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 blah. It was done. To buy a new dryer, that cost me about $900. And if I didn't have money in my emergency fund to fall back on, I'd have to put that on a credit card or insane. That $900 could easily turn into $2,000, $3,000 if I don't pay it off fast enough. So that's why it's so important to have an emergency fund set up, especially if you're in somewhere like the US. because things happen. If you emergency medical bills, they stack up really, really quick. And if you don't have any money to fall back on, you're going to be stuck in debt for a decade from the medical bills alone. And then the APR on those medical bills and everything else, it's a nightmare. So emergency fund should be your number one priority before anything else. If you take anything out of this video, make it be this: set up an emergency fund. Arguably, an emergency fund should be about 6 months of your expenses. So if you were to lose your housing situation or you were to lose your job, you'd have money to fall back on for 6 months, so you can find a new place, so you can get a new job. You have time to do that. If you were to lose your place, you wouldn't be homeless like that, right? You'd have money and things to fall back on. So that is why it is just so important to set up an emergency fund before you start thinking about doing anything else. And it's the number one thing any financial YouTuber or financial podcaster will tell you is the first step is to set up an emergency fund. It is just, I cannot preference just how important it is to have that money to fall back on if something were to happen. Because there are so many things in life that can go wrong and that can easily cost you thousands of dollars. And within a week span of time, you could go from having $5,000 to having $1,000, having less than $1,000, just because something crazy came up in your life and you needed to spend a lot of money. So that's the last I'll speak of it for now, but just make sure you do set up an emergency fund before you do anything else. Minimize your expenses and start saving and putting money into an emergency fund. The next thing is a hard one for a lot of people, especially if you're younger, is lifestyle. So a lot of people, even well into their 30s, a lot of people live well over their means because of their lifestyle. So people in their 20s, your 20s is the best time to invest because you got the one thing that many investors don't have on their side, which is time. You have time for your money to compound for you. But a lot of people lose a lot of money because of their lifestyle choices. And don't get me wrong, I'm not telling people to sacrifice their life and sacrifice their fun in their 20s so they can throw everything they have into investments. But a lot of things that people do, especially younger people in their 20s, is a waste of money. You don't need to be going to the bar 3-4 times a week or going to the club every weekend. It's ordering even other stuff like ordering Skip the Dishes, like going to McDonald's every day. That type of stuff is a huge waste of money. Skip the Dishes, I'll give you a good example with Skip the Dishes or Uber Eats specifically. If you were to order Uber or Skip the Dishes twice a week for an entire month, the amount of money you'd spend is insane, and you wouldn't realize how much money you're spending unless you had a proper budget and you were actually calculating the amount of money you put into it. Skip the Dishes for a basic meal, even like a basic meal at McDonald's, it'll rack you around $22. Like, it doesn't seem like a lot for a one-time purchase, but if you're ordering it twice a week for a month, it's like $160 a month just for McDonald's. And that's a lot of money. And it's not really worth it if you look at it, because if you were to go buy groceries, the same amount of money, $160 for the groceries, those groceries will last you a lot longer than the McDonald's did. Even with the rising prices of inflation, grocery prices, it's still more worth it to do that than it is to order takeout every day. Especially because if you were to physically go to McDonald's, it'd be a lot. That same meal would be almost $10 cheaper than if you ordered it on Skip the Dishes because of their delivery fee and the hidden service charges they put on their platform. But it's the same thing when it comes to going to the bar and going clubbing all the time. I'm not saying to completely switch around your lifestyle, but maybe think about it before you go out and do it. You can go out to the bar maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks, maybe once or twice a month, right? But every single weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, for a month, it adds up to be a lot of money. It's cheaper just to go buy a 24-pack and sit in your friend's basement and drink that way. If you're going to go to the bars, I'd recommend doing that instead. And clubbing is just such a gross and disgusting scene. I was in that scene from 18 till about 21. It's in the moment when you're doing it, it's a lot of fun, but it's not really that much fun. Once you get older, you kind of realize how stupid it is. You go there, you just get absolutely obliterated. You don't remember half of it. You usually end up getting into arguments and fights with random people. It's just not fun dealing with a bunch of super drunk people, and it is just not fun. It was my scene for a few years. It's definitely not my scene anymore. I would much rather go grab coffee with a friend at a coffee shop and hang out for an hour, go home, go back to work. It's seems I have and I tell people this. I tell all my friends these days this. I am so boring. I'm not going out and drinking. I'm not going out and doing things. If I can save money, I want to save money. I'd rather save money than I'd rather sit at home and watch a movie at home than go see the new movie in theaters. I'd rather wait a month until it drops online and watch it online. That $20 doesn't seem like a lot, but that $20, when I throw it into an investment in 10 years, that $20 could be worth $200. You know what I mean? Like, if you look at it like that, the money is better spent elsewhere. And I'm still enjoying my time in my 20s, right? Like, I wake up, I spend my time investing in myself. I wake up, I work out. If I'm feeling it, maybe I'll play a little bit of video games, but not very much. I don't like to throw all my time into that anymore. I used to spend an unhealthy amount of time playing video games when I was a little bit younger, but now I see it, a lot of it is just a huge waste of time. I'd rather spend that time like reading or studying finance, working out, and it's just a better use of my time. But this is stuff that I found for me. A lot of this stuff you have to figure out for yourself. People can tell you everything you need to know about personal finance and what you need to do invest, but a lot of this stuff you need to do your own research to find out which path and which direction to take. But yeah, lifestyle is a huge thing. You need to be aware of the type of life you're living and the lifestyle you have, how much money you're spending. If you're going out and buying expensive cologne, expensive perfumes, new bags, designer clothes, you're never going to have the money to save. You'll never save any money. And a lot of those brands, designer specifically, it's not made for rich people. It's made for the middle class, for low income people who want to look rich. If you actually look at it, there's very, very, very few successfully like financially independent people who wear designer because it's a waste of money. They know that it's a waste of money. So if they say and they think it's a waste of money, then you should know it's a waste of money. But it is very important to look at your lifestyle and the things you can change and minimize in your lifestyle, which without affecting your quality of life, because the mental health is a big factor in it too, especially when you're trying to save as much money as possible. You need to really look at what's worth it to axe out of your life and you need to outweigh what will affect your mental health dramatically compared to what will save you a lot of money, right? You need to find a middle ground where you're not mentally drained with no outlets, but you're still saving a lot of money and minimizing your expenses to as low as you can get them. And the last thing is debt. If you have any student loans, credit card debt, car loan, anything like that, your first priority should be emergency fund and then getting rid of the debt. Throwing absolutely everything you can at that debt to get rid of it as fast as possible. Depending on where you live, if you're in Canada, the student loans aren't as bad. You're looking to pay probably about $100 minimum monthly with no interest, which is great, unless you do residency. Provincially, you could still have interest, and if you do, you want to get rid of it as fast as possible. You do not want to just pay the minimum. It is the same thing with a car payment. The APR, you're looking at around a 28% APR. But if you just get by trying to pay the minimum, you will pay over double what the original car loan is worth. You need to throw absolutely every, and it's the same thing with credit cards. You need to throw absolutely every penny you have towards that debt to get rid of it as fast as humanly possible. And I don't say this easily. I say if you have that kind of debt, you need to get rid of it as fast as possible. You need to deal with that year or 2 years of pure hell just to get rid of that debt. Debt can easily sink the ship. You could go under so quickly without even realizing it. You need to get that debt gone as soon as possible. Again, before you even think about getting into investing, you need to get rid of your debt. You need to have an emergency fund set up, and you need to throw that debt. There is a lot of people have some great advice on dealing with debt. You can search up snowball avalanche method, and you will see the best and fastest ways to get rid of debt. But the fastest way to get rid of it is not typically mentally the best, but will show the best results. But yes, prioritize getting rid of your debt. That is something you need to do right now if you do have debt. If you're someone in their early 20s, around my age, or maybe even earlier, you're probably going to school. If you decide to go to university or college, you're going to have student loans. And if you're in the United States, you're in a lot more trouble than if you're in Canada. In Canada, federally, you don't have interest rates on your student loans. Your student loans can kind of sit, and you can get away with paying the minimum $100 a month or whatever for the foreseeable future, and it's no problem. But in the United States, you have to gauge if it's worth it, because again, if you're a $30,000 loan with an decent, even with like a 3-4% interest rate, that's pretty high. It's a lot of interest you're incurring on that debt that you will end up paying thousands of dollars extra than what the loan is worth. So that is something you need to look at, throwing everything you have at that debt. But other than that, I'll leave it there. That's all I got for you guys for this video. If this is something you resonate and you want to continue following the path of financial independence and you want to grow alongside me, then consider subscribing, because this is the type of content I will be making moving forward. And I hope the best for you guys in the coming days, and I hope this video shines some light on some of the things you're doing or you could be doing. Thank you. Goodbye.